Hello and welcome back. One of the most fundamental ways to persist information is to use files. This is also one of the most common ways to exchange information. And there are many specialized software libraries that we can use with Python to work with common file types. Therefore, here we just give a generic overview of how to access files and to read and write information and use the basic text files, because for more specialized file formats such as images or tables or Excel files or other structured information or hierarchical data formats, we will use more specialized libraries. So if you want to read from a file, we need to first check if this file exists and then open it. The most fundamental way would be, again, to use try and accept clauses to first check the existence of the file and then if you can open it and if you can read from it. Python provides for a while now with a nice way of doing this with a with keyword. Under the hood, the with statement provides a sort of context manager for unmanaged resources. And unmanaged resources are really things that are outside the direct control of Python. So that could include files, but also access to databases or URLs and web pages. We can use it to avoid all this try and accept construction. And also the statement cleans up afterwards and closes the file and everything. And the general syntax for this is with, and then we use the file open to open the file name in read mode as, and then we give it a name, for example, as file, colon, and then the indented block where we want to do something with the file. So here we call open to open the file, and this returns an object that we can use later. We need to specify the path in the file name, and we opened it here in read-only mode, but we could also write it in read-write mode, and so on. So this is the minimal example to read the content for a file. We've maybe need to deal with generators, but for large files, reading the whole file would not really work, but we don't want to focus on this complexity in the simple example. So say we have a file that's called example file, and when we use the with statement to open this file and say with open the file as file, we read in the file and print the contents. And this would, for example, result in the following printout: the first line, the second line, the third line, and some other text. We can also read them from the file line by line. We use the method rstrip to remove any trailing characters such as spaces and so on, which is also good for that. So, for example, if we do this again, and we can read it line by line, here we can see that we have now a for loop over the contents of the file, and then we read each single line, we get the same output. If we were to use W as a qualifier instead of the R, so read write, then we can read and overwrite files, we can use A to append files, and so on. As a little exercise, take your functions to generate the Fibonacci's and write it to a file. Like writing to file only works with strings, so you need to convert the number to a string. And to improve readability, add a new line after each number. You can do this by adding the special characters \n to the converted number, and this is called an escape character, and interpret it as a new line. We can also read a file in chunks. As we remember, reading a large file may not be the best idea because it may not fit into the memory, or we don't want to use up so much memory. So here we can use the yield statement, which we've encountered earlier, to define a generator. So we define a function read chunk and read a chunk of the size, for example, 64. And if there's nothing there, we break out of this. Otherwise, we use the yield statement for the generator and print. And this would then work in principle in the same way as before, but here we notice the chunk size, right? So we've defined a chunk size of 64, and this would fit into the first line. It would also fit into the second line, and then here's the third. But this is one statement. This is one chunk. And remember here the print statement after the chunk. So the generator reads in these 64 characters and then stops. And then the next one starts here, third line, and so on. Obviously, we can see that this generates other problems because now we read the file in chunks. That prevents memory issues, but now we have to sort out what belongs together to what.